As cinephiles await the biggest releases of the year, we tell you about some upcoming films of 2025.
I see you.
Know how Squid Game became a cultural phenomenon. And meet Indian singer Papon as he talks about his musical journey. All this and much more with me, Diksha Bisla, on WION E-Club at these times.
WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION, World is One.
To bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra Show to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation to Juhi Jha at juhi@such.org.in.
Know more, understand better, think ahead. Hello and a very warm welcome. You are watching Gravitas with me, Molly Gambhir. Get the facts, not the bombast. On the 26th of March, dynamic pricing, Baloch separatists, Gravitas cuts out the clutter. Gravitas keeps calm when others scream. Gravitas brings news to life. Weekdays 9 p.m. IST, 3:30 p.m. GMT. Gravitas. Seeing is believing.
To bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra Show to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation to Juhi Jha at juhi@such.org.in.
Hello and welcome. You're watching WION World is One. This is World DNA with me, Hemkaur Saroya, and here's what we've lined up for you on the show this morning. Gaza Civil Defense Agency says around 30 people killed in Israeli bombardments as Hamas says indirect negotiations for a truce in the war are set to resume in Qatar. German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock warns Syria's new leaders not to establish an Islamist government as Europe will not fund new Islamist structures after the end of Bashar al-Assad rule last month. At least 5 people killed in a series of Russian and Ukrainian strikes, 3 dead in Russian bombardments on Ukraine's Chernihiv, Kyiv and southern Zaporizhzhia. Ukrainian attacks on Russian border areas killed 2. New York judge presiding over Donald Trump's hush money case set sentencing for the 10th of January, falling 10 days before his White House inauguration. Judge says he is not inclined to impose jail time on the former president. Mike Johnson returns as Republican Speaker of U.S. House of Representatives with the crucial backing of President-elect Trump after two party rebels dramatically reversed their initial no votes. The United States announces approval of $3.6 billion sale of up to 1,200 advanced air-to-air missiles and related equipment to Japan, one of Washington's closest allies in Asia. Over 400 flights delayed at Indira Gandhi International Airport in Delhi due to dense fog. Visibility dropped to zero in some areas, disrupting operations. Indigo temporarily puts departures and arrivals on hold. At least 13 people killed and 28 others injured as a bus transporting a group of tourists in Colombia goes off the road and rolls into an abyss. Accident occurs around 570 kilometers off capital Bogota. Mohamed Salah says he is treating the season as his last with Liverpool. Salah says he is far away from reaching an agreement with the club over a new deal. Now, Donald Trump will be sentenced before he takes office. A judge has ruled that the president-elect must be sentenced on the 10th of January. In the criminal case in which he was convicted on charges involving hush money paid to a porn star. Justice Juan Merchan has said that he has denied Trump's motion to dismiss the case due to his presidential election victory. But he added that he is not inclined to impose a jail sentence and that a sentence of unconditional discharge, meaning no custody, monetary fine or probation, would be the most viable solution. The sentence would nevertheless see Trump entering the White House as a convicted felon. Trump was initially scheduled to be sentenced on the 26th of November, but Merchan pushed back that date indefinitely after his election victory. The sentencing will now take place just 10 days before Trump's inauguration. The judge said he may appear for it either in person or virtually, but the Republican is expected to lodge an appeal that could potentially delay his sentencing. Trump was convicted in New York in May. He was charged on 34 counts of falsifying business records to cover up a hush money payment to porn star Stormy Daniels. She was allegedly paid on the eve of the 2016 election, and that was to stop her from revealing an alleged 2006 sexual encounter. Trump's attorneys had sought to have the case dismissed on multiple grounds, including the Supreme Court's landmark ruling last year that former U.S. presidents have sweeping immunity from prosecution for acts committed while in office. But Justice Merchan has rejected that argument, noting that Trump will be immune from prosecution once he is sworn in as president. And Mike Johnson has been re-elected Speaker of the House of Representatives after initially facing internal dissent. The Trump-endorsed Republican secured the House speakership in the first round of voting. Johnson salvaged his top job in a dramatic last-minute turnaround after flipping two GOP opponents, with Republicans holding a slim 219 to 215 majority. Johnson could not afford to lose more than one Republican vote, and 3 Republican members of Congress initially voted for someone else. The vote was held open to give Republicans more time to secure support for Johnson. The incumbent speaker was backed by Donald Trump, who interrupted his golf game by lobby holdouts over the phone. All but Kentucky's Thomas Massie later changed their votes to support Johnson and secure him the 218 votes needed to hold the speakership for the first full term. But now that he is elected, Johnson faces a tough legislating challenge with the narrowest House majority in nearly 100 years. However, in a key victory for Johnson, the House has made it harder to oust a speaker. The House has approved a procedural change that requires a minimum of 9 GOP lawmakers to force a vote on an ouster. Previously, it only required 1 member to force a vote. At least 5 people have been killed in a series of Russian and Ukrainian strikes. According to authorities, Russian missile attack on the Ukrainian city of Chernihiv left at least 1 person dead and damaged a residential area. Regional Governor Shah said that a triple rocket attack was launched on a residential area on the outskirts of Chernihiv, in which several houses were heavily damaged. Loud explosions were heard in the city, which lies in the north of Kyiv, and some 75 kilometers from the Russian border. In separate Russian bombardments, a truck driver was killed near the capital Kyiv and a prisoner in the southern Zaporizhia region. On the other hand, Ukrainian attacks on Russian border areas killed 2. One was killed by a mortar strike on a village in Bryansk region. Another died in a drone attack near the front lines in the Kursk region, where Ukraine launched an offensive last August. The Ukrainian Air Force in Russia launched a total of 93 drones in its latest overnight attack. At least it said that 60 attacks drones and 26 decoy-style drones were down or disabled by electronic interceptors. In other developments, the cut of Russian gas supplies to Moldova's breakaway region have forced the closure of all industrial companies except food producers. The mainly Russian-speaking territory of about 450,000 people, which split from Moldova in the 1990s as the Soviet Union collapsed, has suffered a painful and immediate hit from the 1st of January. Cut off Russian gas supplies to Central and Eastern Europe via Ukraine. Ukraine had allowed Russia to keep pumping gas across its territory despite nearly 3 years of war and was earning up to $1 billion a year in transit fee. But Kyiv refused to renew a 5-year deal that expired on Wednesday. Even as fresh ceasefire talks get underway in Qatar, Israel intensified its assault on the besieged Gaza Strip. The health ministry run by Hamas says 77 people were killed in the territory in the past 24 hours. The Israeli military has said that over the previous 24 hours, it targeted approximately 40 Hamas positions, marking a continuation of militant activity in the war-torn region. The overnight Israeli strikes killed 30 people in Gaza. As per the staff at the Al-Aqsa Martyrs Hospital, more than a dozen of women and children were killed in the strikes. In the latest assault on medical facilities, Israel forced evacuations at the Indonesian hospital. Condemning the action, Hamas called the Israeli army's attack on the hospital and setting fire to houses and schools a war crime. At the Al-Aqsa Martyrs Hospital in Deir al-Balah, families gathered around the bodies of those killed in other Israeli strikes. Palestinian officials reported damage to neighborhoods in Gaza's Maghazi refugee camp after an Israeli strike that killed several people. According to Gaza's health ministry, the death toll from the war has risen to over 45,500, with more than 100,000 wounded. Meanwhile, indirect negotiations for a truce resumed on Friday, where Qatar, Egypt and the United States had been mediating for months without a breakthrough. These talks aim to reach a ceasefire and a deal for the release of hostages, though previous attempts had stalled due to accusations from both sides about obstructing progress. Meanwhile, thousands of demonstrators, many of them Houthi supporters, rallied in Yemen's capital Sana'a, showing solidarity with Palestinians while burning US and Israeli flags. During a mass rally, Houthi military spokesperson Yahya Saree announced that the group had successfully executed 2 operations against central Israeli targets.
نفذت القوة الصاروخية في القوات المسلحة اليمنية عملية عسكرية نوعية استهدفت محطة الكهرباء التابعة للعدو الإسرائيلي شرقي منطقة يافا المحتلة، وذلك بصاروخ باليستي فرط صوتي نوع فلسطين 2، وقد أصاب الصاروخ هدفه بدقة بفضل الله.
In Iran, commemorations were held marking the 5th anniversary of the assassination of General Qasem Soleimani, a key Iranian military commander whose death had intensified tensions in the region. And diplomatic doors have opened for Syria's new de facto ruler, Ahmed al-Shara. On Friday, foreign ministers from France and Germany visited Syria to hold talks with the heads of the transitional government. Al-Shara, dressed in a formal Western suit, his attire in complete contrast to the rebel military uniform of the recent past, welcomed the two leaders at the residential palace in Damascus. This marks the first diplomatic visit from the West after the Islamist group seized power and overthrew al-Assad's regime. During the visit, the European leaders said that they support a peaceful, inclusive transition in Syria. However, the diplomats were only cautiously optimistic, with Germany's foreign minister saying that Europe will not provide any funding for Syria's new regime.
Europa wird unterstützen, aber Europa würde nicht Geldgeber neuer islamistischer Strukturen sein. Das ist nicht nur in unserem eigenen Sicherheitsinteresse, sondern das ist auch all das, was ich immer wieder von den vielen, vielen Menschen aus Syrien in Deutschland, aber auch mit vielen Syrern hier in der Region, zuletzt in der Türkei und heute auch hier in Damaskus gehört habe. Es ist vollkommen klar, dass sie ihr Land nur wieder aufbauen können, dass die Menschen, die auch in Europa aus Syrien zu uns gekommen sind, überhaupt nur wieder zurückgehen würden und wieder aufbauen, wenn sicher ist, dass nicht nur ihr Leben, sondern gerade auch das Leben ihrer Kinder, ihrer Töchter sicher und frei ist.
France's foreign minister, in his address post the meeting with al-Shara, called for peace between the current Syrian regime and the Kurds, urging for a ceasefire with the Kurdish rebels.
C'est pourquoi les armes doivent se taire dans le nord du pays. C'est pourquoi une solution politique doit être trouvée avec les alliés de la France que sont les Kurdes pour qu'ils soient pleinement intégrés dans ce processus politique qui s'engage aujourd'hui. Et le cessez-le-feu doit être durable et pérenne.
Shortly after the HTS leader overthrew the Assad regime, he called on countries to lift their sanctions, saying that Syria is not a threat to the West. However, the visiting European diplomats have clarified in their address that lifting sanctions will be determined on the basis of Syria's political process and other issues such as women's rights and representation. And for the residents of India's capital, New Delhi, who thought their pollution woes were behind them for the season, the respite provided by the rain was in fact short-lived. With the AQI levels again worsening, GRAP 3 has been reimposed in India's national capital. Along with it, restrictions on certain vehicles are also back. So how are the residents of Delhi dealing with the sudden surge in pollution levels yet again? WION's Nikita Singh gets you this report. Take a look.
A few days after ending the GRAP 4 and then GRAP 3 restrictions, India's capital has again witnessed a rise in air pollution levels. As a result, GRAP 3 restrictions have been reimposed across Delhi NCR.
Restrictions under GRAP 3 remain in place to combat the city's pollution. Now, this includes a ban on BS3 petrol and BS4 diesel vehicles in New Delhi and nearby NCR districts. Let's find out how these restrictions and continued bans are impacting the lives of local cab drivers, private vehicle drivers and local residents in New Delhi relying on older vehicles.
इसके बाद पैसा है 2 गाड़ी ले लेंगे. अब जिसने टैक्सी लिया है 4-5-6 लाख का गाड़ी लिया है, उसको पूरा घर के डिपेंड कर रहे हैं. अब उसके बेचारे को खड़े हो गए, अब उसके परिवार तो बिखर गए ना. 1 महीने 2 महीने हर एक साल ये 5 साल से हर एक साल करते हैं, 2 महीने के लिए बंद कर देते हैं.
You know, it has affected me. I didn't till recently have a BS6 vehicle, and it forced me to move from a BS4 to BS6.
Air quality index in New Delhi fluctuates on a daily basis. So much so that residents find it difficult to stay updated on what GRAP restrictions entails for them. For every distinct stage of decline in air quality, the relevant provisions of the Graded Response Action Plan kick in as emergency measures to tackle the situation. Bharat Stage or BS emission standards are laid down by the government to regulate the output of air pollutants, but when air pollution levels and the subsequent restrictions keep fluctuating rapidly, are citizens able to keep a track of which vehicles they can use?
I haven't received any sort of notification from the government on my phone or from any other government authority, transport department, nothing. No notification I have received from any department. However, I personally feel this is basically public notification has been given, but for all the public notification and no one is basically aware. It is to those who are basically updated with all these criteria, and the person who are educated one must be aware with this.
न्यूज़ देख के ही पता चलता है, मैसेज वगैरह कुछ नहीं आता, ना कोई गाइडलाइंस हैं कि भाई कोई गाइड भी नहीं है। जैसे हम शॉफर हैं, हमने गवर्नमेंट में अप्लाई भी करते हैं कि ड्राइवर्स जो हैं तो एटलीस्ट कम से कम उनके पास तो गाइडलाइंस होनी चाहिए कि भाई उनको मैसेज करके इन्फॉर्म कर देना चाहिए कि भाई ये गाइडलाइंस है, इसके थ्रू आपको चलना है।
हमने सोशल मीडिया पे फ़ोन में देख लिया या टीवी देख ली तो पता लगता है, लेकिन सरकार के पास हर एक प्लेटफॉर्म पे हमारे कॉन्टैक्ट नंबर होते हैं, चाहे वो इंश्योरेंस हो, रजिस्ट्रेशन हो या पॉल्यूशन हो। पॉल्यूशन का मेरे पास मैसेज आता है, आप देख सकते हो 14 तारीख को आया है, लेकिन ये सब में नहीं हमारे पास कोई मैसेज आता है।
Several businesses have also been impacted by the air pollution restrictions. The reduced number of vehicles, particularly those requiring diesel, has resulted in a sharp decline in diesel sales at petrol pumps.
मेरे हिसाब से तो पोल्यूशन में कोई फ़र्क पड़ेगा नहीं, क्योंकि समर्स में हमारे को पोल्यूशन दिखती नहीं है, विंटर्स में फॉग आ जाती है तो पोल्यूशन थोड़ी ज़्यादा दिखती है हमारे को, आई थिंक। और जो BS3, BS4 व्हीकल्स हैं वो पोल्यूशन ज़्यादा करती हैं, इन्होंने गवर्नमेंट ने इसलिए रोकी हुई, और BS6 चल रही है, बट इस पर पंप वालों का भी सेल्स का बिल्कुल बहुत फ़र्क पड़ा हुआ है। डीजल की तो बिल्कुल सेल नहीं है, और पेट्रोल की भी डाउन है सेल।
However, residents do agree that restrictions are much needed to keep pollution levels in check.
I think this is a good thing that Delhi is finally applying these measures, because vehicular pollution contributes to 30 to 40% of Delhi's air pollution. Studies have shown that, so it's good.
And Mohamed Salah continues to cast doubt about his Liverpool future. The Egyptian has reiterated his stance that he is treating this year as his last season with the club. Here's exactly what he told Sky Sports in an interview. "It's my last year in the club, so I want to do something special for the city. I'm into the last 6 months. There's no progress. We're far away from any progress, so we just need to wait and see." Salah's existing deal, is set to expire at the end of the season, with teammates Trent Alexander-Arnold and Virgil van Dijk also out of contract next summer. Negotiations over a new deal have been ongoing with Salah's camp for months. However, he has now confirmed that him and the club are still a long way off coming to an agreement. On the pitch, things couldn't be going better for Salah in Liverpool right now. The 32-year-old is enjoying a brilliant season and is the top scorer in the Premier League with 17 goals. Salah said that it is his priority to win the Premier League title with the Reds this season. The 32-year-old will be in action on Sunday as Liverpool face fierce rivals Manchester United. All right, now let's take a look at what's making news in the world of entertainment. The 82nd annual Golden Globe Awards are just around the corner, promising a night of glamour and celebration. Organizers have announced that stars Andrew Garfield and Anna Taylor-Joy, among many others, will join the event as presenters. The ceremony, scheduled for the 5th of January, will take place in LA. Adding to the excitement, comedian Nikki Glaser is set to host the event. Glaser will make history as the first woman to host the Golden Globes solo. The much-awaited release date for Foole, starring Indian actors Pratik Gandhi and Patralekha, is finally out. The film will grace the theatres on the 11th of April commemorating the 197th birth anniversary of Mahatma Jyotirao Phule. Helmed by Anand Mahadevan, Phule features Pratik Gandhi, as I mentioned, as the visionary reformer Mahatma Phule, and Patrulekha as his wife Savitribai Phule. The movie captures the inspiring journey of this iconic couple who dedicated their lives to champion equality and education in India. And with that, it's a wrap, but we're leaving you with a look at all the climate stories which are making headlines across the globe. Stay tuned.
As cinephiles await the biggest releases of the year, we tell you about some upcoming films of 2025.
I see.
Know how Squid Game became a cultural phenomenon. And meet Indian singer Papon as he talks about his musical journey. All this and much more with me, Diksha Bisla, on WION E-Club at these times.
This week on Tech It Out, we tell you about some of the major space events of 2025. We also show you how AI is revolutionizing the coffee industry. And find out how technology is helping people with mobility issue get back on their feet again. This and more on WION World is One at these times.
Ready to dive into your daily dose of news?
Bringing you what's trending in the West and all that's setting trends in the East.
And all of this served up with a side of insightful banter.
We don't just bring you the latest stories.
We bring you your talking points for the day.
And while you do that, from the busy streets of New York, I will provide you with deeper insights on the developments through the course of the day in the US.
And I will be here at the WION headquarters, getting you all the action from the universe of sport. All that you need to know about your favorite teams and players, right here.
The show that keeps you ahead of the global curve. A conversation you'd want to be a part of.
A place where news becomes an engaging exchange.
We bring you stories that impact your present.
This is World DNA.
Join the conversation.
This week on the West Asia Post. As 2025 dawns, Iran's supreme leader says resistance will emerge victorious in Yemen and Lebanon. Houthis take up the fight with the US and Israeli forces, target Israeli airport and power facilities. 30 days into the ceasefire in Lebanon, what does Lebanon's future look like? Also on the show, we dive deep into Syria's election plans. Watch the West Asia Post with me, Radi Francis, only on WION. World is One.
WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION, World is One.
To bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra Show to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation to Juhi Jha at juhi@such.org.in.
Ready to dive into your daily dose of news?
Bringing you what's trending in the West and all that's setting trends in the East.
And all of this served up with a side of insightful banter.
We don't just bring you the latest stories.
We bring you your talking points for the day. And while you do that, from the busy streets of New York, I will provide you with deeper insights on the developments through the course of the day in the US.
And I will be here at the WION headquarters, getting you all the action from the universe of sport. All that you need to know about your favorite teams and players, right here.
The show that keeps you ahead of the global curve. A conversation you'd want to be a part of.
A place where news becomes an engaging exchange.
We bring you stories that impact your present.
This is World DNA.
Join the conversation. Hello and welcome. You're watching WION World is One. Thank you so much for staying with us. My name is Heem Kaur Surya and here's a look at all the top stories